The cost of an EB-1A mistake is rarely just a number. It's not really all about the filing fee. It's about the chain reaction. You know the feeling when you reach a subway platform just as the doors of the train close. The train pulls away, which means you miss the train, which means you don't get to the airport on time, which means you miss your flight, which means you miss your uncle's surprise 76th birthday party where some of your favorite people are gonna be together, laughing, eating, toasting. That's a closer analogy. The loss is not just the subway fare. The loss is the entire sequence of things that disappears because of one badly timed moment. That's what a fatal EB-1A mistake feels like when it costs you a case that you probably should have won. And the difficult part is that the costs compound. I'll talk more about that. Some of the costs are measurable in dollars, some in months, some in strategic opportunities that never quite come back in the same form. I want to walk through 4 categories of cost with you. The first is the easiest to measure, USCIS filing fees, the Form I-140 filing fee, the premium processing fee, which many petitioners pay because apparently waiting 8 months to learn devastating news or life-changing positive news is not considered character building. Together, you're looking at roughly $4,000 if you go with the premium processing, less if you don't. Now, for almost all truly competitive EB-1A cases, EB-1A petitioners who have good cases, $4,000 is not life-altering. Is it painful to lose? Yes, in many cases. Is it catastrophic? No. And that's important because the filing fees are actually the smallest bit of the problem, smallest bit that you lose. They're the most visible bit, but they're not a really significant portion of what you lose. The second category is time. And this is where the meter really starts running. People dramatically underestimate how much time a self-filed, a pro se EB-1A petition consumes. Not just writing time, thinking time. 2, time to understand the statutes, the regulations, the policies, time to understand the case law, time to discover that the way USCIS actually adjudicates cases and the way that, say, the policy manual describes how they'll adjudicate cases are occasionally in long distance relationship. Time to gather primary evidence and time to gather secondary evidence and more secondary evidence about the primary evidence and about that other secondary evidence. But what I'm trying to make is that a whole lot of time will be spent gathering evidence, and then time to draft the 30 or 40 or 50 page brief that doesn't read like a hostage note assembled at 2:13 a.m. Time to coordinate the recommendation letters, which by themselves become a small diplomatic operation involving reminders, follow-ups, revisions, and at least one distinguished professor who replies to emails once a lunar cycle. Then come the exhibits, hundreds of pages of exhibits, maybe over 1,000 pages, naming them all, organizing them, labeling them, annotating them, cross-referencing them, trying to decide whether Exhibit 47 should really go before Exhibit 48. At some point, your desktop begins to resemble the evidence wall from a detective show. And then very often comes an RFE, which means you do the entire thing again. Except this time you're under an 87-day deadline and you're responding to specific objections and unable to unsend what you already submitted. And if the case gets denied, now you're deciding whether to appeal within about 33 days while emotionally oscillating between I can fix this and perhaps I should just work in my friend's coffee shop as a barista. It will be relaxing, you think. The time cost is immense, and unlike money, time does not replenish itself while you quietly sleep, which it did. The third category is harder to quantify, deferred certainty. This is the category people almost never talk about, perhaps because it's so personal. If you're planning a move to the United States, your life begins splitting into 2 timelines. One foot remains in your current country, the other hovers over a future that may or may not materialize. And because of that uncertainty, major decisions get postponed. Do you buy property where you are? Do you accept the long-term opportunity you just got? Do you enroll your children in a different school system? Do you invest in the business expansion? Do you make plans involving aging parents? Everything becomes provisional. You begin living in parentheses. And every unnecessary delay in your immigration case extends that uncertainty further. The fourth category of cost is the one I think matters most. The strategic window closing. This is an invisible cost because people assume cases only improve over time. Sometimes they do improve. You publish more. Your citation count grows. You win another award. You secure funding for your business. You take on a more distinguished role. A weak case today can absolutely become a strong case later. But the reverse is also true. Cases age, awards lose immediacy, media attention becomes stale. You change careers and a once clear career trajectory starts looking fragmented. The moment passes. In immigration law, particularly extraordinary ability adjudication is sensitive to momentum. A petitioner who looked undeniably ascendant 18 months ago can suddenly look pretty accomplished today. Same person, different timing. Bob Marley once said, "Strike the hammer while the iron is hot." Well, I'm paraphrasing. And in fact, he said it 3 times in a row. Sang it 3 times in a row, I should say. But that's better for my purposes, actually, because it's a message that I want to emphasize. It applies here in the EB-1A context more than people realize, because if the iron is hot now, you are not guaranteed to have the same heat later. And here's the additional danger. A denial can force you into a waiting period. Strategically, refiling too quickly risks making the second petition look little more than an attempt to re-roll the dice, hoping you get a more benevolent adjudicator, unless the new filing is meaningfully stronger or fundamentally restructured. Is it possible to overcome that denial? Yes, it is. Is it easy? No. Swimming upstream rarely is. So, 4 categories of costs: the dollars, the time, the deferred certainty, and the closing strategic window. The filing fee, the dollars, is the smallest loss. A missed strategic opportunity is often the largest. An experienced EB-1A lawyer is not merely or mostly a form filler, a document assembler, a document compiler. An experienced EB-1A attorney can usually tell rather quickly whether a case is ripe now, which is important because immigration law rewards good timing the same way that the subway does. Catch the train at exactly the right moment and you glide halfway across town while someone else sits in the back of a motionless Uber, wondering where their life went wrong. See, the strongest EB-1A cases are not simply about accomplishment. Plenty of accomplished people are denied EB-1A approvals every day. The strongest cases are also about momentum, about filing while the career still has visible velocity instead of the faint sepia tone glow of former rising star. A good lawyer captures the strongest version of the story before it cools, before the articles become old articles, before the awards become not recent, before USCIS begins treating your peak as a historical period requiring archival research, which is another way of saying strike while the iron is hot, preferably before someone at USCIS decides that the iron has had enough excitement already. It needs to go to bed. If you have an EB-1A case you have not started, or one you are working on as you stare at a blank Word document, or you have a situation that feels slightly unusual, or you simply want to stop improvising and move faster, my contact information is in the description. My firm handles these cases all the time. And now go subscribe because more of this EB-1A content is on the way.